RYZE was just a young apprentice when he first learned of the arcane powers that had shaped the world. His master, a sorcerer named Tyrus of Helia, was a member of an ancient order whose mission had been to gather and protect the most dangerous artifacts in Runeterra. RYZE overheard Tyrus speaking in hushed tones with another mage, discussing something called world runes. When Tyrus noticed his apprentice, he abruptly ended the conversation, tightly clutching the scroll that never left his side. In spite of the Order's best efforts, knowledge of the runes began to spread. Few could even begin to understand their importance, or the sheer power held within them. And yet all saw them as weapons that could be turned against their rivals. RYZE and Tyrus traveled between the various peoples of Valoran, trying to quell paranoia and encourage restraint. But over time, their missions became increasingly precarious, and RYZE could sense his master's growing desperation. Two nations were pitted against one another, and tensions were running high. Tyrus pleaded with their leaders in parley at the village of Calm, but he saw this conflict had already escalated beyond his ability to mediate. The earth fell away beneath them, the bedrock itself seeming to retch and squeal, while the sky above them recoiled as if mortally wounded. They looked back upon the valley where the rival armies had stood, and beheld insanity destruction on a scale so massive that it defied all physical sense. The buildings, the people, all were gone, and the ocean, once a day's journey to the east, now rushed to meet them. Open warfare soon raged across Runeterra. RYZE felt compelled to join the conflict, to pick a side and lend his magical strength to the cause, but Tyrus stayed his hand. The two of them had to guide others back toward peace, and pray there was anything left of the world by the time it was all over. Wherever they met those who held the world runes, Tyrus pleaded for restraint. Many were deeply sobered by the threat of total annihilation. Indeed, those who had already suffered most bitterly in the war might have agreed to turn over their runes to him, and yet none of them wished to be the first. Bitter and angry, the older mage insisted that common mortals were like reckless children, toying with powers they did not understand. He would no longer play diplomat to ignorant power-mongers. He had to stop them. RYZE tried to reason with Tyrus, but it was no use. Before him stood a flawed man, susceptible to the same temptations as those he decried. The allure of the runes had left its mark upon him. Where once he desired only peace, now he had the means to bring about the end of all things. For ever since that day, he has scoured the world in search of the last remaining true friend. He continues to reject the promise of power within each one, choosing instead to bind them in secret locations, far from prying and greedy eyes. Even with his life abnormally prolonged by the magic he is exposed to, RYZE cannot afford to rest, for rumors of the world runes have begun to emerge once more, and the peoples of Runeterra seem to have forgotten the price of wielding them.